All right, welcome to the Corner Office Podcast. I'm here with a very special guest, Marc Lafleur from Cornwall. You inspired me when I found your profile online, and give you a little bit of background about him. A co-founder of truLOCAL, a meat delivery service business that he ultimately sold for almost $17 million. True definition of an entrepreneur. Came from nothing, so your story is, I'm sure it touched a lot of people's hearts every time you meet them, right? So welcome, and thanks for doing this.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. Is that where you found me on social?
Yeah, I think, I don't know.
Scrolling or?
I just scroll, yeah. That's how I look for people to have on here, and yeah.
Nice, good.
Your story.
Glad something's working.
I know you do a lot of talks nowadays, so like I said, I'm happy for you to be here, so appreciate that.
Hey, man, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me. The setup is awesome, and it's like I was saying, man, I was going through it, and I was like, okay, like, do I want to come out? And content looked awesome, and the conversation sounded great, so I was like, all right, let's get this going.
Yeah. So take me back to like the early days when you were like the quote unquote loser kid. I read your book and I listened to your book, and you talk a lot about that, and I guess that inspired you to break out of that, right? So
yeah, and I'm an audiobook guy too, so I don't know the last time I actually read a full book, so it's always just been in the car doing the audiobook. But I guess adding some context, so yeah, co-founded truLOCAL, built that over 5 years, and then we sold to a company on New Year's Eve 2020. And from there, it's kind of, it was really full circle because, like, if anybody knew me from back in my high school days, they definitely thought I was going to end up in, like, jail or, sweeping the streets or something. So my high school career was, it was tough. And I was the only, at the time I got into Holy Trinity, which is one of the high schools in Cornwall. It's like a Catholic school out there. I was literally the only black kid. So it wasn't like that was a huge impact on me, but I was just like this fat, overweight kid, had like afro, I had girls' glasses, and all.
Did you get girls?
No.
Zero.
At least in grade 9 and 10. Like 0 girls in grade 9 and 10. All I used to do was game. That was it. I'd go home, and it wasn't even the cool games for a while. Like I was just playing Final Fantasy. Like that was my life. And then I got cool in the gaming world when I started playing the shooters. Like, when Xbox 360 came out, finally got Halo 2 and started playing that. But my whole life was pretty much go to school, get into trouble, have teachers telling me that I'm going to, pretty much amount to nothing, fail most of my classes, come home, and then just game. And it got to a point where, a lot of people counted me out. And I don't blame them because everything I was doing was I was just lashing out. I was lashing out all the time, and it was just people thought I was dumb, but it wasn't that I was dumb. I just hated everything they were trying to teach me. Like I didn't find any value in high school. Like I would go to school and I didn't understand why I needed to learn the history of English. I was bad at math. I don't know why civics and careers matters. Like all the things that I was being forced to learn, I just didn't relate with, so I didn't apply myself. So what else are people going to think? Obviously they're going to think I'm an idiot and that I can't do it. So that's fair. But I always knew I could do more. And it kind of got to a point one day where I was just like, you know what? I'm just, I'm tired of this bullshit. Like I'm tired of going to school. And it wasn't just the teachers too, right? So like I had 0 social status. Like I had no friends. I was getting, bullied, and I was bullying other kids because of it. So like I had no circle to sit with, you know what I mean? So it just got to a point where I was just tired of it one day, and I was like, okay, you know what? I want to just like, kind of turn my life around. And it's funny because in the book I talk about how I don't know what happened this day, but I just, woke up one day, went into the mirror and like stared at myself. And I was like, yo, like I'm done with this. Like I do not want to live this life anymore. I saw this like fat loser in the mirror, or this fat loser was in the mirror, but I knew that there was something more underneath that. And I was tired of not having that person come out. So it just, after 30 minutes of doing that, I kind of came out. And it's funny, I just did a talk and I was saying, it's not like I came out with that like immediately like this revolution and like I had that Pete Davidson energy from the second I came out the room, right? It was more just, okay, I'm just going to, every decision I make, I'm going to try to make it so I'm moving towards, living the life that I want to live. And at the time, of course, in high school, all I wanted to do was, be one of the cool, popular kids. I wanted people to hit me up and be like, yo, come to the party, or, just wanted to have people to hang out with, and football was a huge part of that. So I found football, probably going into grade 11. And
Did you play?
I played at the time I was playing linebacker.
Okay.
So I played linebacker in Canada. So I
really?
played for the Canada Knights. So
Yeah,
huge shout out.
Yeah.
Huge shout out to the Canada Knights because that really changed my whole life.
Because you didn't make the team.
Yeah, so pretty much
In
Cornwall, I got cut. No matter, and it wasn't like I was a great player or anything, but just friction all across the board. Like the team at the time had like this specific group of kids that were on it that kind of just ran the whole team because there wasn't that many good football players in Cornwall. So, these kids ran the whole team, and then the coach was like, pretty much in their pocket, right? And they were good, so it's not like there was anything wrong. But of course, I was always beefing with them and just causing problems. So then the coach hated me as well. And pretty much took my helmet and gave it to the quarterback one day, and that was that. So anyway, the funny story about that is that I got super pissed, and it actually motivated me. So I started looking around to find another team just to be like, okay, well, if these guys won't have me, let me go try out somewhere else. And then I literally was just going through online, and I found the Canada Knights, and there was teams that were closer. Like I think the Cumberland Panthers, I think, is a team, and there's Myers Riders. And they were closer, but I didn't like their logos. So it's like I didn't even know much about football, but I was like, yo, for some reason I'm like the Canada Knights. And like we had no money growing up, like at all. But my dad, man, like such a gem. He would drive from Ottawa. He lived in Merrickville at the time.
Oh.
So I just say Ottawa because people probably don't know where Merrickville is. But he would drive 3 times a week to Cornwall to drive me to practice. And like, once again, like this old busted up car that, we never knew if we were going to make it. Like we just didn't have much, but anything they could give, they would give. So when I got there, it was a huge confidence booster because the team knew they were the best team in the league. Like, they won the championship and the year before. And they've just been known for being, this really competitive team. A lot of the coaches' sons play on the team. Like it's just football life, right?
Yeah.
So they knew I didn't play. So they were kind of already like, I don't really know. Like, like this kid's not going to make it. But I ended up actually making the team as a walk-on. And this is like a competitive traveling team. And that like changed my whole life. Like that experience with the Canada Knights just taught me so much. It taught me, it taught me about discipline. The idea of being a high school kid and driving an hour and a half, 3 times a week, one way, doing a 2-hour practice, driving back every night, and never missing, right? You can't miss that because if you miss that, you definitely ain't playing that week. So the discipline of just, putting in the motions and the work required to do something you enjoy and something you love. Also just the, kind of got me socialized a little bit more, because I just, once again, I didn't have any friends at the time or anything. And you learn the pecking order real quick on a football team.
Yeah.
Like you kind of figure out real quick where you fit in and, you figure out that if you want to, climb that ladder, you have to earn respect and you have to earn respect by doing. You can't just say. And so it taught me a lot about that. And it was just such an amazing experience and it gave me a ton of confidence. So when I came back to school, I was the only kid in town that was playing football outside of the city. So it was like this interesting kind of thing. And also we were spanking, the Cornwall team at that time. So it's kind of like,
play each other.
Oh yeah. So it ended up being this like in the playoffs actually.
Okay.
And so it ended up being this like really interesting thing for me and it gave me all this confidence. And I think I was just lucky and carried that momentum because then I got really fortunate. I found my group of friends, which are my best friends to this day. Like there's 5 of us and we've just through high school, through university, and after that, we've just always stayed close. And whenever the teachers started seeing that I was turning my life around, like I lost a bunch of weight and I wasn't fighting with everybody anymore because
you had a purpose.
Well, I had a purpose, exactly. I talk about it in the book. Because I was going to say, if I get into purpose now, we're going to spend the whole thing about that. So I'm trying to kind of skim over that. But what happened was that I fell in love with football, and I was like, I have to do this. Like, and the biggest goal I could think of at the time, because I never had a goal in my life. Like, I just wanted to play games, right? The biggest thing I could reach for was I need to play university football. Like that is this thing that is going to change my world. If only I could play university football, I will have made it. But then, of course, I found out that to play university football, I got to get into university. And what ended up happening was I was like, holy shit, how am I going to turn my marks around? I literally failed most of my classes, and the ones that I did pass, I passed with like a 50. So I just got to work. Like I just, started buckling down. I'm like, listen, me getting my grades up is the one thing standing between me and my ultimate purpose. This thing I want more than anything, which is playing university football. So I ain't gonna let that stand in front of me, especially considering like doing good in school is like a horsepower thing. You just got to like put the time in. So when people started seeing that I had this thing that I cared a lot about and I stopped looking for trouble. And I think that's a huge part of it. And I don't talk about this in the book, but there's this idea that when you're chasing after a goal or a purpose, trouble tends to miss you a little bit more. or at least you don't find it yourself, but it's when you're not chasing after something in life, you're just circling, that's when chaos finds you. That's when bullshit finds you. That's when you start meddling in other people's things. That's when they start meddling in yours because you have nothing you're not chasing anything. So you just find problems. So I think that me chasing this goal, like nothing else matters. I don't have time for your bullshit. I don't have time for this. I don't care what you think about me or what I think about you. I got this thing to chase. It puts blinders on you and you can really focus on what you want. So I think when teachers started seeing that too, they were kind of like, wow, like this kid's serious about it. And they got behind me too. So I have a huge shout out to Holy Trinity and the Canada Knights and then my boys, like that really, all of that coming together at the perfect time is what ultimately, led me to sitting here with you right now. Like none of this would have happened today if those things didn't happen back then.
So what do you say to a kid right now that's like struggling through high school? What kind of advice would you give them? Try to find something that you're super passionate about and chase that? Like what kind of advice would you give?
It's tough because it's a dangerous thing too, because now you got these kids that come out of, university at like 22 and they have these like, we used to have midlife crises. Now these kids are having like early quarter life crisis because they don't know what they want to do with their life. And, they see these highlight reels on social media and they see all these people who they think have their lives figured out and just like nonstop being, shown in their face. And I think what ends up happening is that this purpose, like this thing you want to go after, you can't choose it. You can't just wake up one day and be like, this is what I'm going to do, because that means you're conceptualizing this goal. And to me, that just makes it a goal. Like if you're conceptualizing what you want to do in your head, like this is what I think I should do, or this is what I think I want to do, it just becomes a goal. And the difference between a goal and a purpose is that it's a feeling when it's a purpose. Like even when your mind breaks and you decide anymore, like, maybe I don't want to do this or whatever, you can't put it away because your gut, like your heart, like your stomach is pulling you towards this thing. So where I'm going with this is that trying to find something usually ends up to being a goal, and it's usually short term. A purpose is a feeling and you can't choose it. And
so what's an example of like a goal and a purpose that you've had?
Okay, so for example, let's just say truLOCAL. So I've only had two purposes in my life. One was to play university football, and then another one was to sell my first company before the age of 30. So a goal would be like, okay, I want to sell my first company before the age of 30. What are the milestones and things along the way that I have to do to make that happen? So I would say like a goal would be to like, okay, I want to sell my first company before the age of 30. A goal is let's go start a company. And then another goal would be like, all right, we need to go raise money. Okay, well, another goal is like we need to get, we need to be top 10 on, the Globe and Mail's growing company list. So goals are sort of the milestones that you have along the way to achieving your purpose. A purpose is more similar to a vision than it is to a goal, in my opinion. Purpose and vision are this North Star that you can't not do it even if you wanted to. Like it's pulling you towards it. It's a feeling. Goals and milestones are the things you're doing along the way
to get you
to that point. So what I tell kids is that, listen, it is a gift to have a purpose. Everybody thinks you have to have a purpose to do well. You don't, but it is a superpower. It definitely gives you an advantage. And the younger you find your purpose, the more fortunate you are, but it's not a necessity. Most people, when you ask a 25-year-old what they want to do for the rest of their life, like, what are you talking about? This kid's lived 1/4 of their life or whatever of their life. How are they going to know what they want to do for the rest of their life? So the ones that have found a purpose, they might know what they want to do for the rest of their life, but that's like 10% of kids that really know what their purpose is. So I break it down to say, listen, if you aren't lucky enough yet to have found your purpose, it's okay. Don't force it because you're probably going to go in the wrong direction and it'll probably just be a goal. And bouncing from goal to goal to goal is fine in the short term, but in the long term, you're probably not going to live the life that you want to live because you're doing short-term goal after short-term goal after short-term goal with no real, what's the point of them? Like, what are you building towards? So to me, it's, if you don't know what your purpose is for the rest of your life, then just shorten it down to something like 3 years or 5 years or 2 years, something that you're like, what do I feel like I want to do for even just 2 years? Because then it makes it a lot easier. It's not this existential, my whole identity is wrapped up in what my purpose is for life. It's more like, what can my purpose be for the next 2 to 3 years? My purpose in university was to be a football player. That is my I believe that. And then my purpose was to be an entrepreneur and then become a millionaire. And I made the promise that once I did that, so I don't know what my purpose is long term for the rest of my life.
Like I'm looking at you, I'm like, shit, I don't feel like I do the whole 2-year thing. This is the thing I want to do the next 2 years and the next 2 years, and then shit, I was like, damn, okay, I'm happy you said that. You don't know what your purpose is for the rest of your life.
For sure. So that's what I'm saying. Like my purpose was to build and sell a company, but I've achieved that now. So I'm not naive to think that, okay, I know what my next thing is. It'll hit me. It'll be a feeling. One day there's going to be this thing that slowly starts to creep into your head. And it's funny because usually when this thing happens, you don't even know it's a purpose right away. It's not until you start like sleeping and dreaming and thinking and like just you feel it, right? So anyway, where I was going with that is that the people that are blessed to have a purpose at a young age, those are like the LeBron Jameses of the world and the pro athletes and the rappers and the artists that sacrificed everything else at a young age to chase after that purpose of theirs. Most of us had a purpose young, but then society kind of took it from us. You know, society was like, okay, well, you want to be a pro gamer? That's stupid. You should go to school, or you should get a job, or you should do whatever, which is not always bad advice, but it did kind of crush this opportunity that you had to do this thing that could have been your purpose. And if you dedicated the same amount of time that you did to school to being a pro gamer or a content creator or an entrepreneur, or I don't care, a bricklayer or curing cancer, you'd probably have a lot of success. But we tell people not to do that and to focus on this generic cookie cutter, go through this to be educated. So where I was going with that is that it's a fine line. And I think there are a lot of kids out there that have a purpose right now in high school. They know what they're on this planet to do. They know what they want to do more than anything. And they kind of like hold it down. They stifle it. And I think that's just because of, you know, parents, and it's because of, you know, the school system and things like that. And it's okay because they obviously want what's best for you, but you're giving up part of who you are by not chasing after that. So I would say if you're honest with yourself and you look in the mirror and you say you know what your purpose is, and not like this cheesy ass, like, I want a purpose, so I think I know what it is. Like, no, if you dead ass know what your purpose is, what I would tell someone is then be uncompromising and going after that. Give it a shot. Go try. It's 2023. It's the easiest time in the world to make money. It's the easiest time in the world to start a business. Give it a shot. And then for the other kids that actually don't know what their purpose is, don't stress about it. Don't stress. It will come to you as long as you just apply yourself to things. Like, just impress yourself with the smaller tasks, become better, you know, take pride in the stuff that you do. And eventually by doing, it's going to come, you know? So that's what I would say, to people. Like, I always say, if everything I talk about, I try to talk to the younger me. I'm like, what would I tell me, you know, at this time? What would I want to hear? So that's like where a lot of this comes from.
Okay. So talking about that, like talking to your younger self, what do you think you would have done differently starting your first business, selling it? Is there anything?
Nothing. Zero.
Nothing.
No, it's not to say that we did things perfectly at all. We made a ton of mistakes. But the thing is, I never look back on these regrets, because if I had tweaked one thing, it's 50-50 that we would have gone and made $100 million company, or we would have failed. So to me, I'm super happy with where my life is at this exact moment in time. And I always say, if you're content, like, you don't have to be happy over the moon with where your life is. You need to be content. Like, are you good? You feel good. You have good relationships. They're solid. You know, you have responsibility. Like, you're content. Then you can't have any regrets in life, because every single thing that happened in your life brought you to this point, the good and the bad.
So you wake up every morning generally happy. Because me, I'm like, you know, you hit a goal, you want more. We talked about this, there's no end to it. How do you wake up and just be so content then?
Well, you could be content and still chase things.
Okay.
So
you still chase for sure.
100. I'm the best version of myself when I'm chasing things.
Okay.
Absolutely. Doesn't mean I'm not happy or content.
So you're content knowing that you haven't reached your goals, and that there's always somebody out there that's got more money than you. That's cool with you.
I don't do it. It's honestly, man.
It's not about the money.
It is about the money.
Okay.
It's definitely about the money. But I don't use money as a meter stick, for sure. At least not to other people. I do it for myself. Like, I look at it to be like, yeah, for sure. I don't like to get caught up in that side of it. And trust me, it's not that I'm above it. It actually doesn't get me going. Like, to be like, is your bank account bigger than mine? Do you have nicer things than mine? What I do care about is, like, are you better than I am?
In what sense? Like,
just, are you a better version of yourself than I am of myself? Okay. You know, so for me, the biggest fear is, you don't want to die and then have this replay and have this alternate reality come, and it's like the ultimate version of you. And this dude is like 50% better than you are. Like this dude is, you look at this guy and you're like, holy shit, who is that? And you're like, that's me. That could have been me. And you're just so far from that dude that you're like, if you knew you could have been that guy, I promise you would work your ass off in your entire life.
Anything you could.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm not even unrealistic to say that you have to be the best version of it. That's so difficult. That's so difficult. But if you could be within 20% of that dude, like, yeah, that to me, you lived a good life. Like, so to me, I have a lot of confidence in myself and I have a lot of confidence in my abilities. And I feel like if I'm not chasing something and performing at a high level, I'm wasting my life and I'm wasting my potential, and it's not right for me to do that. And, you know, the way I live my life is that what I really care about, honest to God, is that the younger version of me looks at me today and dead ass is like, yo, that guy is who we become that guy. And if I can wake up every day and think that, then I'm like, I know I'm on the right path. So where I think about them now, I'm like, sick, you know, I have a great life. Like I got a rocket wife, you know, we've been together for 10 years. I'm like, I got race cars in my garage, you know, we got a few homes and stuff. Like life is good and I'm blessed. So to say, is there any regrets? I'm like, of course we could have done things better and done things bigger, but like, I'm super happy with where I'm at. And I feel like I'm just getting started. So that's kind of the whole premise of all that.
Yeah. So what are some goals you have for the next, you know, couple of years? What are you up to now?
Yeah, I want to go big. I think that the biggest thing with Canadian founders, in my opinion, is that, and it's okay, it's not a bad thing. It's almost like something you have to go through, but I think we think too small. You know, I think that, and it's not because we don't have, you know, bigger ambitions. It's that we want to get rich. Like you start a company to make money. That's anybody who says anything differently. The majority of us are in it because we want to be entrepreneurs and founders and live that life. And then of course it's great to layer on some sort of, I love this, you know, social cause as well. But a lot of us do it for the money, and you want to get rich within 5 years. And once again, different, you know, maybe real estate, you might think differently because it might be more long-term wealth accumulation. Yeah. I like the big check. I like to bounce from big check to big check. So acquisition to acquisition to acquisition is kind of like, I like that. Like I'll build equity over a 5-year period, and then I want to sell for a few mil. You know, like I like that. And I think that when you're a first-time founder and you don't have money, 5 years is something you can wrap your head around. 5 years for a few $1,000,000, you're like, okay, I can wrap my head around that. The problem is you can only really build like huge companies after 5 years. Like that growth after year 5 is where you start to be like playing the big boy game or big girl game of business. And I think that because a lot of founders, and maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but we think about that first check, we're like 5 years is legit. I could go after that. And I think it's a generalization as well. I know a lot of founders that are like, no, we're here to do this big. But coming out of it, no regrets, you know, wouldn't have changed anything. I think that selling and getting into a position that, you know, where you have some money, you can then go swing bigger. Once again, I feel like it's my responsibility now to do that. I'm 32. Financially, I'm set, and I have the opportunity to go to try to build something big and meaningful now. I'm not in this like mentality of scarcity. I don't have to worry about where my next paycheck's coming from. I'm comfortable. So why wouldn't I think about a 10-year plan or a 15-year plan for a business? And then when you start thinking at 10 and 15 years, you can really start to think about making something big. Like now, billion-dollar companies aren't sounding that crazy anymore. And it's funny because now, you know, with the way the market is, and, you know, it's you know, zig when they zag, right? Like, you know, 5 years ago, it was like everybody wants to be a unicorn. And it's like, oh my God, I'm going to go build this billion-dollar company. And people loved it. Now the market's shook and it's like, oh, you know, how dare you even think about building a billion-dollar company? Like, be realistic. And I'm like, I am being realistic. Like I think it's still doable. And I think the best time to build a business is in a recession. So for me, it was, okay, if I want to aim for something big, it has to be long-term. So we got to think about minimum 10 years. Well, if I want to wake up every day and be motivated for 10 years, like what is this goal that I want to, or what is this challenge I want to try to tackle that I care enough about? And that's really kind of where this is all coming from. So it's like a first principle idea of, okay, if I want to go here, what are the things that have to happen to get there? And, you know, I'm talking super, you know, hypothetical and theoretical on these things, but it's just kind of my thought process right now. And I'm not rushing anything, you know, I don't have to rush things anymore. And I think that that's sort of the main thing, but definitely, and it's not my purpose right now either. Like I do not have the same burning craze that I had about selling my first company, but I think it's because it's still forming. And as I take in more information and talk to more people and refine my thoughts and ideas, it starts to become more of a feeling, like this thing I can start grasping. And that's just where I'm going. I'm just
and you're investing too right now.
Oh yeah. So
always in companies.
I got tons of side quests on the go. You know, it's
Okay.
called little side quests. Like I do angel investing. I love, man, you got it. You can't sell a company you can't sell a company and not invest in other founders. So I love angel investing. Right now I've just turned off the tap though, because once again, I'm getting ready to ramp up my own stuff. So I'm going to be,
Gotcha.
when you're chilling, you're investing. When you're starting to build, you're investing in yourself, right? At least that's a good way to look at it. So I do that. You know, I'm driving race cars, you know, I wrote the book, you know, so a lot of these things are like these side quests. Like these aren't the main mission. These are just things that, you know, I'm able to kind of fill my life with that make me happiness, and they force me to perform still, right? So the book, great. Let's stay top of mind. Let's produce content. You know, you got to have discipline for that. The racing, you're pretty much an athlete. So it's something to train for, something to kind of, you know, have this outlet for wins. Like you want to cheer and you want to compete in things. And business is a way to do that, but it's long and it's tactical and it's strategic and it's this slow chess game. Whereas a sport, like you just get like, you know, like you win a game, like it's exciting. You want to go win a race, you know, it's something to just get that emotion going. I think it makes you a better person, to be honest, having that sort of outlet. So
you're legitimately racing these cars.
Oh, straight up. Yeah.
Against,
like I just want
who?
Other race car drivers. So like, okay, so the way it works, I'll give you context.
Can I be a race car driver?
If you want. Why
like,
not?
do I need
you got to go buy
I get a car?
Yeah. So you go buy a car, go buy a race car. You can buy a normal car and then like turn it into a race car. You know, you get
a Honda Civic.
Yeah, if you want.
No,
so pretty much, yeah, the way it works. Okay, I'll get into it. No, this is. So we're actually filming a documentary. So we're doing 2 documentaries over 5 years because race car driving is super confusing. Like people are like, I want to go drive race cars, but then like, where do you even start? Like, what do you even? Is there a series? Is there like a track that you go to? Is there like how does it work? And I think we're pretty resourceful, and it took us a long time just to figure out where to go and how to go about it. So we're doing a documentary to show that a lot of these kids that we're racing against have been racing since they're like 14, right? I'm the kid who came in at 30 and I'm like, hey, I want to go race against you guys. So the way it works is pretty much you need a car. You need to get a car that you can get like any car. I have a BMW E46. So 2004 black BMW M3. It was a street car. And then you pretty much just chip away at turning it into a race car. So you gotta, you know, you're gonna strip everything out of it that doesn't, you know, if it has weight and it doesn't add to performance, take it out. You don't have the AC, you don't have the dash, you don't have the passenger seat, you don't have any of that stuff. You got to put a roll cage in it to make it a race car. Like you got to take the glass out of it. You've got to do all these things, and then you're usually going to be on slick tires, so you're not using your street tires anymore. And that's a process. Usually you'll just start going to the track. So you're in a great spot. Like Calabogue's right around the corner. Like I'm jealous of where you live. Like I used to have to drive up here like once a week from Cornwall to go to the track. And one of the greatest tracks is 30, 40 minutes from here. So you just kind of start going to the track, you get used to the track, try to get your speed up. And if you're fast, you can then make the decision to say, hey, I want to start racing. And just to make it simple, you can do like local races at the local track, right? So consider that like recreational racing. But then if you want to get competitive, you can do regional racing where it's a full race series and you're traveling to the different tracks. So you've got Calabogue here in Ottawa. You've got CTMP, which is Canadian Tire Motorsport Park in Toronto. You've got Shannonville track, which is in Shannonville. There's a track in Montreal, and the series is 18 races, and you're going to go to all these different tracks, and you're going to race against other people that are putting their own money with their own cars into racing against you, and it's hyper competitive. Like
that would consume my life.
It's crazy. It does.
It does. Like
for sure. You got to come to. You got to come to a race.
I can watch
for sure.
race.
You got to. I'll be at the even Calabogue alone. Like we'll go.
Okay.
We'll take the car out.
Let's
got the
do
BMW.
that. I want to watch that.
Yeah, it's sweet.
All right. Well, let's take a 2-second break.
Cool.
We've been already going for like 25 minutes. So.
Oh, dude, we can talk for hours, man. We can talk for hours.
So. All right. Cool. We'll be back. All right, so we're back. Once again, thank you for coming on the show, man. I appreciate your time so much.
Dude, it's no problem, man. I'm sorry that we spent 30 minutes talking and only got through 2 questions.
You know, you just have so much insight, man. So I'm loving it, man. So let's get into shooting your shot, because you talk a lot about that in your book, and I believe that's a big part of my success as well in real estate. 99 no's, 1 yes, you're good, right? So it's a numbers game, I guess, for me. I don't maybe not in the business world, but for real estate, it is the key. So yeah, let's hear some thoughts about shooting your shot.
Yeah, man, like it's the same in business. I think it was Mark Cuban that said, in business you only got to be right once.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm a huge believer. Like I guess there's so much to unpack in shooting your shot. But in the book, I really started talking about exposing yourself to opportunity. So let's say you've done a good job of developing your skills. You're a competent operator. You can deal with the day-to-day challenges. Now what you got to do is you got to expose yourself a little bit more to luck and opportunity, because you have the skills to capitalize on opportunities that come your way. Right. But you got to start with having the skill, right? You got to start with the situation where if the best opportunity ever presented itself to you, are you ready to capitalize on it? So once you can say yes to that, then it becomes, well, and I don't think a lot of people talk about this, but it becomes, okay, well, how can you increase your exposure to opportunity? And to me, there's two ways to do that. And one of them is shooting your shot. And the idea in that is exactly what we just said. Like, why would you ever not shoot your shot as much as possible? All you need is 1 yes. So for me, the idea of shooting your shot really just kind of became where I grew up with nothing, and every single thing that I ever wanted, I had to shoot my shot for. You're used to being told no. Like the odds are with whatever you want, you're going to be told no. So you kind of realize that you got to ask a lot. You got to put yourself out there a lot.
Does that come natural for you?
Yeah, totally. I'll shoot my shot anywhere on anything. Like it
Okay,
really,
it's always like that. Even when you had no confidence, you were a loser.
Yeah, because I was still like, I had no confidence and I was a loser. You know what? It's never even that I didn't have. I was always still a fairly confident kid, even as a loser. It's just that I didn't express it as much now. I didn't know what it was as much now. It was more arrogance back then. It's almost like, this is what a good way to put it. Like back then, it was more arrogance and like cocky bravado, probably more as like a defense mechanism than it was as like, hey, I'm confident that I can accomplish this. It was more like, you don't think I can do it? Well, I'll show you. It was a different thing. So back then, especially because we really didn't have a lot of money, and I loved games. Games were $60, $59. How am I going to get games when we have no money? I had to shoot my shot and try to just, do anything I could to get any sort of advantage or find any sort of way to make an income. So for me, that was always the norm. And I think that led well into sales. So my first real job ever was in sales. I was doing door-to-door meat sales. And what ended up happening is that when you do door-to-door sales, all you're doing is shooting your shot.
And literally getting no's all day.
Doors literally being slammed in your face. But to me, call me naive, but that thought of the 1 yes made all the thoughts of a no. I never think about the no's. You never think about the low success rate. You're just fixated on the when's my next yes going to come. So it's almost like every time you hear a no, it's just like one more step. And so this is a cliche, but like every no is one step towards a yes. But like that, I was just maybe naive, but that was my thought. It was like, okay, there's a yes coming somewhere here. So, okay, you said no, you said no, you said no. Oh, sweet, there's my yes. Okay, cool. And that just kind of compounds. So that literal version of it in sales where it's like, okay, no, 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 yes. You see it with door-to-door sales. You see it with phone sales, real estate, anything. That was the literal direct expression, like level 1 of it. But then when you're in business, you kind of add on a few more layers, a little bit more finesse. And it's more like, okay, with investors, there's a lot that goes into that. But the idea is that you need to go and have 100 meetings, being dramatic, but like kind of like you got to have like, you're going to do like 20 to 30 meetings before you get a yes. But it's like, what are you going to stop? Are you going to stop trying when you get like 30 no's? Like it's ridiculous. Yeah. And I think that the idea of knowing that you need to continuously shoot your shot gives you hope, because as long as you keep shooting your shot, as long as you keep trying, eventually you're going to get a yes.
Yeah.
So, that's, kind of talk about it in the book, and there's, the idea of putting yourself at the table, and there's,
that's free. You said it's free. There's no skill to put yourself at the table.
No, it's not that. It's the idea that once you feel skilled enough that when an opportunity presents itself, you will capitalize on it. Then you should start increasing your exposure to opportunity. The last thing you want to do is start chasing opportunities when you're not ready to capitalize on them. Shooting your shot is free and requires no skill. But shooting your shot,
yes, that's what you said, yeah.
To get the meet, like shooting your shot is about getting the meeting, getting your foot in the door, like setting yourself up so you can do your pitch, setting yourself up so you can show them what you've got. If that's shooting your shot, right? Like, and that's what I mean. Like, it's that next level of it. In sales, it's shoot your shot, shoot your shot, shoot your shot, because you're shooting your shot to get a yes. You're shooting your shot for that direct sale to close, like on the line. Oh, great, I got that lead. Or, you know, when I was selling meat packages, like, great, I'm signing a deal right now. Shooting your shot at the next level is all you want is the chance to show this individual what you can do. You need a chance to get their ear. And that's what happens in business. Like, most of the time, you just need to get someone to give you a chance, to give you a look. And then once they give you a look, you have a chance to show them who you are and what you can do. That's kind of the next level of it, right? So it's the difference between shooting your shot to get that direct reaction versus shooting your shot to have the opportunity to showcase what you're capable of. And I think that's the next level of it. And when you're doing that, you need to shoot your shot, because once again, you've got a 2-stage battle. It's, can you get this person to give you the time of day to spend time with you? And then let's say you do that. Okay, well, oh shit. Oh, you will take the meeting? Oh, right now? Okay. You don't want to be in that situation where you're not prepared, not ready, you don't have the skill. You need to be in a state of confidence in your skill that all you need is the shot. That's what you're missing. It's not that you're missing the skill or the knowledge or the value prop or whatever to close something. It's that you just aren't getting the opportunity to show people who you are. And I think that's where it comes from when you come from no money, right? I always say this, kids that come from no money have no opportunity. And that's why they have no problem working hard. They've worked hard their whole life. They're not scared of hard work. They just want someone to give them a goddamn chance. Like, they just want someone to be like, let me just show you what I can do, because I am better than these rich kids. I am better than this. I can do better. I can, or at least be on the same level, but nobody even gives them the time of day. And when you grow up and you start looking for more opportunities, that's a really good mindset to have, because you're a hard ass worker. You know, if someone just gave you a look, you would get it, versus people that, you know, and not just people that come from money, because there are a lot of really badass hard workers that came from cash. But the difference is that at a young age, a lot of these people have unlimited opportunities. They can get in a meeting with anybody. They can get into any door. So what they're doing is they're avoiding work. They're like, I don't really want to do that. I don't want to, because they have opportunities everywhere. It's like, I don't really want to do much. Like, I know I have opportunity anywhere. I don't want to do much. So when the opportunities are in front of them, they don't perform because they don't want to. They don't care. It's like, I'll just wait till the next opportunity comes. Whereas when you're someone who never had opportunity and that opportunity comes in front of you, you're going to give it you're going to be 110%.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the concept I talk about in the book on shooting your shot. It's like, at the level that I'm talking about it in the book, it's like, you need to know that you can do it once you get the opportunity. So therefore, increase your exposure to opportunity.
Yeah, gotcha. And you talk about luck too, right? Because you said you believe 51% luck, 49% skill and execution.
Yeah. And that's not to say like there is such a huge difference between the people who have skill and the people who don't. You got to be the best at what you do. The reason I say it's 51%, I thought about this for a long time, because there is a lot of people that can just outwork the people who
are up there. Yeah, no, I agree.
But the thing to me is that you could be the best in the world. You could be LeBron James, but a car can come out of nowhere and smash your leg.
Yeah.
So you gotta have bad luck. You could be the best gym owner in the world. You figured it all out. You have 100% retention rate. You raised $100 million. You have the best trainers in the world, and then a pandemic comes and shuts you down. Yeah. So luck supersedes all skill, in my opinion, by just 1%. Like, it's just that one thing that you could have all of everything perfectly lined up, but luck could stop all that.
So you don't get upset if somebody says, "Oh, you're so lucky, Mark."
Oh yeah, I get mad about that for sure.
Like,
I am.
You're so lucky, and
yeah, no, I'm super lucky. We are incredibly lucky that we are where we are. But the other 49%, we did
your ass off.
We did 100% of that 49%. You know, we worked our asses off. So we just had we pushed everything we could to the limit that we could, and then the final percent, we got lucky. Right time, right place, good market. We did a good job of analyzing where the opportunity was, and we did a good job of selling when we did also, like with the way the market is. You know, it's a tough time out there, and if you were stuck holding the bag, it's very difficult. And I think that it's a combination. So
gotcha.
That's what it is.
So you talk a lot about decision making as well. What would you say to somebody who wants to improve their decision making ability to choose from one thing or another in business?
Yeah, I think people don't realize, but one of the roles as a founder that you need to have is to make decisions. And I find a lot of people struggle with that. And let's just call some people out. Look, if you're still trying to figure out what your logo is going to be and you haven't started your company because you're like, oh, I just need to figure out my logo, or I'm just waiting to get my company name, or even the ones that are like, oh, I've got these like 5 ideas. I'm going to try to pick the best one. You've got decision-making problems. Like, your job as a founder is to keep momentum going. That's what you need. You need momentum with you, and you need to continuously be moving forward.
You're talking about being a founder as even if it's just you, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, I got to generalize, right? So look, like, a founder is if you're starting a company, if you're a solopreneur, if you're a real
online store,
whatever, you're a founder. You started something. You're doing your own thing. It could be anything, right? And in the book I say it's for first-time founders, but to be clear, a first-time founder to me is anybody who hasn't had their first big win. Like, if you haven't sold, I don't care if you're just starting your first company or you're like where I was at truLOCAL 4 years in, we were a $20 million company. I'm still a first-time founder. It's not until you get that big win, in my opinion, that now you're okay. You've kind of been through that war. So this is for anybody that is either just getting started or is in the trenches already. So same thing when I say a founder, I'm talking about everything from gym owners to real estate agents to online coaches through to startups. Okay. It's anything there. But decision making, and it applies to life. A lot of people get stuck with decision paralysis. A lot of people halt their momentum, and a lot of people create uncertainty with their teams or clients or whatever by not making decisions. In my opinion, you're better off making a bad decision, but consistently making decisions and moving forward than waiting for that perfect right decision. The whole thing is, what is it? Like, what is it? Good is the enemy of great, or like the other way around, great's the enemy of good, or something like that. That is very true. Like, you're better off doing something good and continuously moving forward than doing something perfectly once, in my opinion.
Okay.
So it's very important for you to continuously
stay moving.
You gotta. And the way I look at it too is that the reason people struggle with this is because they think that every single decision is existential. It's like, oh my God, like if I make the wrong decision, I'm screwed. And there are some things where that's true, but most of the time, all it means is that if you chose correctly, you're going to start the day or whatever with an advantage. You're going to be in an advantageous position because you made the right decision. If you choose the wrong decision, it's not like you're game over. It's not like you've died. It's not like your business is over. You're just starting at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
Which means you just got to work a little bit harder to get back to the same point, and then work a little bit harder to get back to the advantageous position. So I think you're better off making a bad decision and then moving forward on it than not making a decision at all.
I guess there's a fine line being like reckless and being too conservative and just waiting and waiting and waiting. And what do you think, like, how did you learn to make being a good decision maker, like trial and error, learning from your mistakes?
That's a good question. I think, like, the beautiful thing about being a founder is that every day it challenges who the best version of yourself is. Like, every day there's a new problem that is bigger than what you currently are at, and you have the choice of either rising up and challenging that and becoming a better person, or cowering under it, failing underneath the challenge, or not tackling it at all. But ironically, even failing under the challenge still makes you a better person. But cowering under that challenge makes you stagnant or a worse person. Yeah. So I just think that it becomes a habit. It's like a muscle. Every day and I talk about it, being a professional problem solver, it's like, the first chapter in the book is the number one skill any founder needs to have is understanding that they're not a CEO or a CTO or a president or a head of sales. Your only role is being a professional problem solver. So as you get more accustomed to solving problems and making decisions, you just get better at it. So I don't know if there was a single moment in time, but it might have been where I just would watch us make a series of bad decisions, and we just got really good at coming back from them. We'd make a bad decision, and if anything, we would come back stronger. So I realized, I was like, ooh, we're making, maybe this is a bad decision, but we keep moving forward, and you would see what would happen if you didn't make that decision at all, right? Like you would be stagnant at that same spot. So once again, in a short podcast and you got to add context. Like, it's not about being reckless, right? It's not like, oh yeah, like I heard this guy, he told me that I should just make decisions real quick, and like next thing you know, you're screwed, right? There's got to be a sense of judgment on it. And there's a whole chapter in the book about it, right? Yeah. And how to make decisions and how you can go through the process. But I just think that overall, you should carry the weight and the responsibility of understanding that your job is to make decisions, not necessarily make the right decisions. If you can make more right decisions than wrong decisions, of course you're in a good spot, but it's not your job to make right decisions 100% of the time.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes perfect sense, because nobody can make right decisions 100% of the time.
If you can, like, you should identify that, and you should probably start investing in, the next big thing, because it's a hell of a skill.
I know a lot of people that feel like they work a regular job, and if they feel they have so much potential to do more. What do you think is like the biggest barrier for people starting their own business, doing something out of the box, let's say?
Yeah. Unpopular opinion, but look, like, nobody cares you have potential.
Okay.
You can have all the potential in the world. If you don't do anything about it, it doesn't matter. So I think that and on the flip side, some people have zero potential, but they take action, and they're going to make it further than the person who has all the potential. There's some people that I know, some of the most talented individuals that you could imagine in their respective fields, but whether it's bad attitudes, whether it's entitlement, whether it's lack of decision or motivation or anything, they don't put that to good use. And therefore, what does potential matter? Potential is always just potential.
Until
you need to put it,
yeah.
Exactly. You need to put it to work, and consistently too. That's the thing. A lot of people, back to the long-term, short-term time frame, a lot of people think that because they're really, really good, they just got to show it once or twice. I can just show someone how good I am, and then I'll get whatever I want. Dude, if you don't have the mindset that you need to be the best version of yourself for like minimum 5 years straight, like day in and day out, even when you're getting punched in the face, you ain't going to make it. You're not going to make it. So like, you can have all the potential in the world, and I say this, and I hope it inspires people. Not,
well, it does for me at least.
I hope people don't take it personally in the bad way. I'm hoping it inspires someone to be like, man, the worst thing you can do to yourself is feel like you have a lot of potential and not do anything about it. Like, that's the biggest thing.
That'd be like the saddest feeling. Waking up when you're like, 60 years old and be like, I knew I could have done something, I just didn't capitalize.
That's the most full circle thing, period, because we're talking about it, where it's like, imagine, you wake up one day and you just had this like vision of who you could have been at 60.
Yeah. And
you knew you could have been that dude, but you chose not to. Oh my God.
That would break my heart.
I would die. I would just die right there. I'd be so sad. I would. It's a betrayal, not only to yourself, but to your friends and to your family and to the world. Like, at the end of the day, what could you have accomplished? What could have you being the best or a really strong version of yourself done for your friends and family? What kind of impact could you have had on somebody who then goes and impacts somebody else? You're doing a disservice not only to yourself, but to everybody around you. Yeah. So if you aren't inspired already by just trying to be a really, really good version of yourself, then just try to think about the other people it impacts also. And it kind of gives you this new like responsibility of, damn, okay, maybe I should wake up on time, and maybe I will go to the gym a little bit more. Maybe I will start meditating. Maybe I will, do whatever I got to do to just operate at a high level.
Yeah. So talking about money, like when you reach a certain level of financial success, do you put a lot of pressure on yourself to keep going, or is it just happens?
The money, it's not a meter stick for me.
Okay.
It honestly isn't. And like, I love what money brings. Is, of course, people that say money doesn't buy happiness, they're just wrong. Like, money isn't the sole source of happiness, but money can give you more exposure to things that make you happy. Yeah. If you like to travel and you like cars and you like nice food and you want to invest and have opportunity and not be forced to do things. Actually, I think that's another thing too, is that money makes it so you don't have to do things you don't want to do, which then allows you to spend more time doing things that make you happy. That's a good way to look at it. For me, I know that if I just keep chasing what I want to do with my life, which is just, accomplish what I think I'm capable of accomplishing, money's going to come, just by default. So that's not my meter stick. Like I said, my meter stick is just like, I know I'm not going to be like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to go out there and compete with guys like Elon Musk or anything like that. Like, there's some people that are just like, oh, I want to be, and I was like, that's just not realistic to me. I'm not trying to be the best person on the planet. I'm nowhere near that. But I know where I think I could be. I really know where I think I could be. And I want to be in that realm. And that makes me happy. I don't care what anyone else is doing. If you can go do better, go do better. I hope you do. And if your goals aren't as big as mine, I hope that you achieve those as well. Like, go do your own thing and focus on yourself and your friends and your family.
But so how much pressure do you put on yourself to reach those goals?
I would say, there's a lot of pressure.
Is
for
it
sure.
healthy pressure, you think?
I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I'm saying. I like the chase. A lot of people, you always work, or, you got to relax. It doesn't bring me joy necessarily. I like chasing things.
Yeah.
I like chasing after a goal. I don't have someone told me like, oh, you're always on to the next. Like you always want more. I don't take that as an insult. It makes me happy. Yeah. Like that makes me, and I think it's a happy relationship because I always say this, once again, I've got, an amazing wife, I've got the same friends I had since high school. I like to think that my peers in the business world respect me and I respect them. I like to think there's, I've got good things to my name. I like to think that my team, I had great relationships with my team. Like I think my life is in balance. Yeah. So I think that my obsession with chasing whatever purpose or goal I'm after, I don't think it's consumed me to the point where it's having a negative impact. Yeah. If that ever did happen, I would hope that you probably don't see it yourself, right? Like you don't really see it when it's happening to you. But I'm fortunate. I would hope that my friends and my family and the people that I care deeply about and have a relationship with would be the ones to be like, hey, listen, this is real bad. And I don't think we're there, and I don't think we're even close to it. I think if anything, I become a worse person when I'm not chasing something. Gotcha. I become a worse friend. I become a worse family member. I'm just dreary. I don't like who I become when I'm not chasing something. So for now, I'm super happy with the chase. And once again, that's right now. That could change in a year. That could change in, I don't have kids, me and my wife right now we're not looking for that right now. And we're loving, the life that we have together and what we're doing and just having fun. And I think that until I wake up one day and that changes inside and it's my own decision, I don't think, we're looking to change anything.
Cool. Speaking of balance, I so much agree with what you say in your book about, like, in the growth stage of your business, work-life balance is not a thing. And, like, it drives me crazy when people tell me that, like, I got to prioritize myself and my family, and especially, in the growing phase, right? Like, it's just, you got to work your ass off. Like, there's no other way around it. And that's how I built my business. And, like, can you speak on that?
100%. I love speaking on this because it pisses off a lot of people. Yo, listen, if you are a first-time founder, or once again, let's just say if you're in the growth phase of your business, work-life balance is not an option. That's not to say you shouldn't go after work-life balance. It's just trying to chase work-life balance and trying to chase growth do not go hand in hand. You need to choose one or the other. So I hate that you see it on LinkedIn and all these people preaching like, you got to take care of yourself and this. Yeah, sure you do. But then just make sure that your goals come down a little bit. Like, oh, you want to go be a billionaire. Oh, you want to go build $100 million company. Oh, and you want your weekends to yourself. That's just not realistic. Yeah. If you want your weekends to yourself, then go try to build $1 million company or go try to build, a cash flowing 6-figure company. Like, it's okay if you want more work-life balance. It's just there's a very strong argument to be made that your goals have to be proportionate to that. I always say, I'm like, your challenges are always going to match your ambition, right? Yeah. So whatever your ambition is, assume that you're going to face the polar opposite level of challenge. If you want to live as the top 20% of people, in North America, let's say like people that are chasing after it, you're going to face challenges that 80% of the population would cave under. You're going to face challenges that only 20% of the population could deal with. Man, you want to go be the 1%? You are going to face things that 99% of people would cave under. That's my thought.
That's a good way to look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully it doesn't. maybe it's not the case, but you should walk into it with that mentality. It's almost like a deal you make to yourself. Like, don't be unrealistic, right? Like, oh, I want to be with 1%. Okay. Are you going to do the thing that 99% of people aren't willing to do? Okay. Then that's a fair commitment to yourself. You're not being delusional. And because you're not being delusional, you'll probably be in a better mindset to prepare yourself for whatever might come.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I want to continue this conversation, so let's take a 2-second break and come back. I want to talk to you about Dragons thing because that shit is cool. So. All right, we're back. Part 3, I guess, 3rd segment. I watched your Dragons Den bit, and that was you had a lot of hair back then.
Yo, man, business is stressful.
That's one thing I learned. Yeah, for sure. But was that Frieza that you carried in real?
Yeah, of course. There was just nothing in it, but it was real.
It was real.
Yeah. You know what? I think it was the best thing we did ever because I think that's the most stressful moment is walking in. But if you walk in with a freezer, it made it funny. Like, it broke the ice right away. Yeah. Because, man, that is a stressful situation, which I highly recommend. So, Dragon's Den, we were on Dragon's Den. I think it was season
12.
It was, oh, thank you. There you go. Yeah, season 12. Yeah, I feel you. So season 12, truLOCAL. And I always tell people this. I'm like, listen, I think every founder or entrepreneur should do Dragon's Den because I think it's an amazing rite of passage. Whether you get the money, whether you get the exposure or not, as a founder, you talk the talk a lot. You have to have an ego as a founder. You've got to think you can do it better. You've got to think you can make it. So going on Dragon's Den is one of those first opportunities you have to prove to yourself, oh shit, I can walk the walk, right? And I think it's just a great thing to know that, okay, within like a couple of years of my business, I'm going to go on Dragon's Den. It's this battle that you have to face, right? You can't avoid it. You shouldn't avoid it. It's a challenge that if you do well, it can be a huge boost to your business. If you do poorly, you will instantly know, and it could be a huge detractor from your business. So it's almost like this milestone rite of passage that you need to prepare for and get to. Don't dodge it. Don't run away from it. And that's not to say it's good for all businesses. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying that it is a really good sort of personal development challenge that you should go after. So we did it. And the most nerve-wracking thing definitely is the walk-in. And that's a stressful ass day. Cause like they're trying to get you. Like
you think so, eh?
I think so. Dude, I know so.
They're trying to make you look like a fool kind of thing?
It's not that. Okay, let's not say that, but let's say they're trying to make good TV. And what makes good TV?
Ooh, yeah.
It's a TV show first.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's a TV show first. So you know that any chance there is to make entertaining TV, they would just inherently, if they're trying to make good TV, double tap on that, right? So I'll never forget, man, everything from the drive-in the morning, you were just like, holy shit. Like, if I mess this up, it's like, it's game over. It can kill credibility. I have a really, really good friend. Actually, she's a local here in Ottawa, and one of the greatest businesses, one of the greatest founders I know, and just absolutely like unjustly got roasted on Dragon's Den. Even when you look at the pitch, it made no sense that she was getting roasted the way she was, and so there's a huge risk on going on the show, and that could happen. So we were just like stressing, like we were getting there, driving in from Milton at the time, and we were prepared though. That was the thing. Like we were prepared.
You prepared your script. How long did you practice your script?
A month, 2 months, maybe. Like let me use some loose things here. So what you start auditioning, I think, in February. So the way it works, I'll give people might be interested in this. The full process is this: you go through the auditions. They do this audition tour all across Canada. It might be different now, but they go to all these different cities, and you get to go out and audition. When you audition, you're going and you pitch the producers. And the producers will give you kind of like a yay or nay, but you don't know at the time. So you go and you pitch the producers like 5 minutes, who you are, what you do, what your business is. And really, in my opinion, they're just checking to see if you're TV ready, right? That's all that matters. Like, are you interesting? Do you have a following? Can you help the show? Are you going to be entertaining? And then what happens is you get a call back, usually within the month, to say, hey, congratulations. You've been selected. You are going to film and pitch with the Dragons. Now, that does not mean you are going to air. Pitching the Dragons and recording is very different than airing. So I think, and this is not an official stat, so don't quote me, but it's something like 50% of people that pitch actually make it onto the show. So you still have a long way to go before you realize if you're going to air or not. So we did our audition. It went well. We got a phone call saying, hey, you get to pitch the Dragons. And of course, we were one of the first people to hear that we were going to make it. So they ask you, like, what day do you want? They do, like, I think a full month of filming. Like, well, what day do you want to film on? And I'm like, first goddamn day. I'm like,
that will be you.
I'm like, we want to go first. It wasn't, to be honest, it actually wasn't the whole, like, confidence thing. It was actually a logic thing. I was like, I was like, okay, if they're going to be filming for a month straight, man, I don't know about you, but, like, imagine being on that 30th day. You're like hearing the same, like, company for the third time. You're like, I've heard like 8 of these online food companies. I just don't care. Like, you just want to get out of there. So I'm like, okay, I want to go first. Like, let's go first. But of course, logically, I'm like, well, what if we go first? And then they're like, oh, we want to wait to see who else. Yeah, so I was like, but I'm like, you know what? Like, let's get after it. So we on the first day of filming. And we started practicing after that. And the way you do it is you have a pitch and then you have a Q&A, right? So you pitch and then you have questions. Now, we were lucky. We knew that we watched every single episode of Dragon's Den multiple times for, like, even leading up to the audition. So we knew everything. We saw all of it. We saw the trends. We saw what was making sense. And it's so simple. Like, there are so many things in life that are simple, but they aren't easy, right? So it's like it's a simple concept, but it's not necessarily easy to do. This is one of those things where it's like the number one tip and strategy for Dragon's Den is just know your shit. Yeah. Like, just know your business. And so many people go on there and they don't know who their customers are. They don't know their revenue. They don't know how much it costs to make their product. They don't know what their marketing budget is or what their cost per acquisition is or customer acquisition costs. Like, how are you going to do that? Like, if you just know your shit, you'll do fine. So luckily, we had already been pitching investors. We knew I like to think we were pretty savvy operators. We knew our stuff. So it was mostly just about, let's go out there and try to convince them that this business makes sense. And we would just, and not mess up. Like, go out there and don't screw up. As long as you don't screw up, we should be okay. So we just started doing what any person that, once again, it's simple, it's not easy, just over prepare. So we would work on our pitch every single day, just quickly. 15, 20 minute pitch
kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. We recorded it and then boom, AirPods, or no, at the time, I think it's probably wired. You listen to it. You just, as you're driving. I'm an audiobook guy like yourself. Yeah. Listen to music. No, none of that. Listen to your pitch. Just put it on repeat. Just put it on in the background. Like, you just start absorbing your pitch. And, like, why wouldn't you do that? Like, it's just being prepared. So we were really prepared when we went in. And we did this thing called, like, stop, drop, and pitch. So we told all of our friends and family, we were like, hey, anytime, at any point, we could be doing the dishes, we could be at the gym. You tell us to pitch, we stop what we're doing, and we pitch. And it was just to get used to pitching in weird circumstances and weird situations. You're in the car with a friend, pitch. Oh, shit, okay. So blah, 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 blah. You know, okay, you're at the gym. Like, okay, you finish a set. All right, pitch. You're like, okay, so and you just get used to doing it in different circumstances. So then when you do it under the lights, because even if you just practice it normally, it's different when your heart's pumping. The den is actually, like, ironically, it's really hot. It's super hot in there. That's why everyone's sweating.
All the lights and stuff?
Yeah, that's the thing. I always feel bad because there are some people that go in there and they're just drenched and everyone's like, they must be nervous. Like, no, it's actually just hot in there. The lights, the cameras, like, they're sitting there. It's like, yo, you got to prepare for that sort of situation. So, we did that, and we felt good. We felt really good. Yeah. And
sorry, I was gonna say, like, from that time that you pitched, how long did it take you to, like, actually start processing the deal and stuff like that?
Oh, it was like 8 months, bro.
8 months.
It was a while, yeah. So, yeah, it's a long time. Like, it's like anything, right? Like, listen, you're pitching something on the show, but they got to do due diligence on you. Like, there's a lot of people that go on the show and they're making up bullshit. You know, you can see it. You see it in their eyes.
Oh, nothing's verified before you start talking to them. Oh, okay.
No, definitely. No. So, like, in deals and stuff like this, yeah, you go and pitch. What you're doing is when you pitch and you get a deal, they're like, yeah, we're interested, but we got to go ahead and back check all this. Like, we want to see your data. We want to see your numbers. Like, send us your financials. Like, okay, you say you have all these vendors, show us the vendor. Like, it's due diligence, right? And it's totally fair, and that's the way it should be. Because otherwise you can just go up there and say whatever the hell you want. And you see, man, you can't tell me that you watch Dragon's Den and you see some of those people's wheels spin and they're just like, oh, so you did how much? Is it? And they're just like,
Yeah, their valuations are all over the
it's just
place.
crazy. So, so it was about 8 months of going back and forth, and making sure the deal made sense on both sides. And we were fortunate, Michelle, I have so much respect for her because I respect busy people. I understand that people that are working on business and doing big things are extremely busy, and time is very valuable. And the one thing I'll say about Michelle is that when you look to work with a dragon, you want access. That's the number one thing that you're getting is just, be able to talk to this individual, be able to ask them questions and ask them for connections. And that's the easiest thing for them not to give. Oh, I'm going to put you in touch with my person or, work through my company or whatever. Man, Michelle is such a gem. I don't think there's ever been a time where I've called her that she hasn't either picked up or called right back. She's now, in my opinion, a friend. She's been a mentor, and it's funny because I hear that from a lot of the founders that have worked with her. So huge props to her. And going through the pitch, it's we got there. And, we're nervous, but we're feeling good. Like, we're nervous because we have a big moment, but we felt good because we felt prepared for that moment, which is the best feeling ever. There's no better feeling.
For sure.
Like, giant, awesome opportunity, the final game, the Super Bowl, the big match, and you feel ready. Like, anything could happen, but, you're ready to take it on. That's life. You want those feelings. So we got there, but and there was probably maybe I forget. There was 6 people, I think, in the room, in the staging area with us, getting ready to pitch in that morning slot. And we were on the first day, but we were the second or third pitch to go. I think we were the third. I think, actually, maybe we were the second. But anyway, long story short, the person before us came out crying.
Oh,
so we're like, oh, shit. I guess we chose wrong. I guess they are being, super hard on day one. So we're just like, oh my God. And of course, every time the door opens for them to let in, you just see a glimpse of it, right? And you're like, oh my God, that's the den right there. So, and we're young, man. We were just so, had hair and shit. We were so young. We were so green. We were doing $290,000, I think, at the time. Maybe $100,000 a month, maybe. So we had a business, but it's it was so green. We were so green. And just going in there, the only thing I was nervous about was the start. That's what I was nervous about.
Okay.
I was just I'm like, if I could just get in the zone, I'll be okay. I'm good at questions. I like the questions more than the pitch.
Okay.
So the memorizing scripted shit, I don't love that. I like the questions. Ask me the questions. I know the questions. Let's go through that, but the pitch I was nervous about that. And I remember just being like, okay, if I can just get in the zone as quick as possible, we'll be good. And you watch the show, and that walk up. They walk down the stairs. They used to walk down the stairs.
Yeah, okay.
And I was always just like, oh my God, I'm not looking for
No, you look good there, man. And it was natural. It was
because if
you prepared, but yeah, it was natural.
If you watch it, there was a little laugh. We had this thing where they're like, oh, is there something in there?
Yeah.
And it was this little okay, great. Everyone's laughing. And then we went into it, and I was like, and then that was we were good. But it's it was the thing.
The conversation was a lot longer than 7 minutes.
Oh, yeah. It was 40 minutes. You were pitching for 40 minutes. They chopped it up. We went in the back and did the whole little talk thing. We had a little
discussion of what you want to do.
Conversation and
shit. They just cut that all out.
Yeah,
They're just we'll take this.
Pretty much. That's pretty much what it was. So they cut a lot of it up. And you know what? They got it. It's,
yeah.
You can't analyze a business in 7 minutes. And you can't analyze a business in 40 minutes. But they got to put a lot of pitches on. And I think the thing with the show, and I have a lot of love for Dragon's Den, so I hope they don't take this the wrong way, because the producers have been amazing. They've had us on the show 3 times. They did 2 follow-ups.
Yeah.
It's huge. So huge respect for the show, and huge respect for what it does for Canadian founders and entrepreneurs, because that show single-handedly breeds entrepreneurs. There are people that maybe aren't interested in going into business, but they watch Dragon's Den and they want to be entrepreneurs. So hope they don't take any heat if they ever hear this, but I do think it's kind of the idea of it becoming a show has taken over more than the idea of rewarding good businesses. Because you'll see the show sometime and you see absolute dog shit businesses, which is fine. You can say that. There are some shit businesses out there. Doesn't mean they're shit founders, just they're shit businesses. And they get the time of day. It's oh yeah, okay, we're interested, whatever. And then you see some absolute rock stars. People that, whether their businesses are great or they're just great founders, from an operational or business perspective, or just have that heart. It's yo, listen, this is a bad idea, but that founder is a real founder. And sometimes they just kill them. There was one pitch I remember seeing where it was bad business, great founder, like in it for all the right reasons, but just green, like you're just getting started. And like they did that whole thing where it's like you shouldn't even be a founder, and it's like yo, that makes good TV, and like yeah, have a tough skin, but that person might idolize you, man. Like that person might look at you as the be all end all in business, and you're this person's hero, and they've fantasized about pitching their business that you love, and they just think about the day. And when you have someone be like, yo, you should just quit and give up, it's like, yo, you just like, man, it's tough, man. I hate that. That's tough. So anyway, it was a great experience for us. You know, we had a 100%. Great, it was good. So
I just want to finish off by asking you, you said, hold on 1 second. Yeah, actually, no, I wanted to ask you, last thing is your founder's grant. So that's really interesting. So I heard about the $50,000 that of, I guess, prizes, you could say.
Yeah, so and happy you brought that up. So we actually just chose the winner, Chakra Nutrition. Shout out to Andy and Justin. So look, a book is interesting. Okay, do we have time? Because I got a story on this.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll dive in. So long story short, look, like a book is tough, and we were talking about this earlier. I like to think I'm a builder. Everyone's got their game. Some people are amazing at sales, and they'll become billionaires by doing sales. Some people are amazing at content. They'll be billionaires by doing content. Some people are amazing at cash flowing assets, wealth creation. Some people are good at building. I'm a builder. I'm a founder through and through. I like to build stuff. And I can sell any product I create through a business. So if I have a business and the business has a product, I can figure out a lot of amazing ways to sell that, and I'll champion the shit out of it. Writing a book for the first time is the first time you're kind of selling your face. Like you were selling you, and I'm honestly not that good at that. I don't think, at least. And it got real weird when it started becoming time to sell and promote the book, because I'm like, it was just cringy for me. I didn't want to like be like, oh, Marc Lafleur wrote this. It just didn't work for me. And I couldn't hide behind a business because it was the book that I wrote. So when it came down to the marketing side, I'm like, we tried doing it all. I tried doing the content thing. Okay. Like we tried. I had 100 TikTok videos that I recorded and had them professionally edited, did the whole damn thing. I would spend pretty much like, how was I doing it? I think I would do an hour a day and just sit in front of the camera and rant, because as you know, I like to talk. And I would just rant about, I would have topics, and I would just like rant about these topics, and then we would get them edited, and it was just your typical, like, you know, Alex Hormozy and those guys. It was just your typical type thing. And the content was great, and I hated it. I looked at them and I hated them. I hated doing it. I hated everything about it. And I put them all up and I took them down. And, you know, it's not like they were doing great or anything, but I was like, even if these blew up, I'd just hate myself. And then what? I'm going to run ads with my face on it? No, I hate that. I did not want to do that. And then what, run ads for a book? No, I didn't like that either. And maybe these are all just excuses. You know, I'd probably tell myself this if I was hearing myself say like, oh, these are just excuses, but I really just didn't want to do any of that. So I was like, okay, if I got a marketing budget, this book is for first-time founders, people that are looking to either start their first company or people that are in the trenches currently building their company. This book is for them because I was that person. And I lived it, like real, recognize real. I've been that person, and I wanted to relate to those people. So it's like the best way that I could relate to those people is to give these people something that they wanted. They don't want an ad being like, here's the next self-help book on how to, you know, be successful. I hate that. So I was like, okay, well, why don't we do a giveaway, a contest? Giveaway and contest can be a little bit cringy, but if they're legit and like authentic, they could be really good. Like they could be amazing. So I was like, okay, well, we got to start with finding something that founders, the audience, first-time founders would really want. And it was like, at first, like, we'll do one giveaway a week where we do an AirPod, and then we'll do like AirPods, then we'll do like a MacBook Pro and all this shit just to build a social following. And it was just like, I was like, man, I hate all of that. I just don't, it's not real. Like, I don't care about that stuff. Like, as a founder, you don't want AirPods or a MacBook. You need help. So yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like,
it's like it doesn't matter at all.
It doesn't matter. So it got to a point where I was like, yo, what did I want the most when I was in the trenches at truLOCAL? And I was like, you know what? I wanted to grow my business. And I was like, well, how do you do that? And then I have a whole chapter in the book, obviously, on working with agencies and what that's like. And I was like, oh my God, like I have really good relationships with agencies, and we've vetted out a lot of them because there are a lot of really bad agencies out there. There's a lot of really good ones, but there's a lot of really bad ones. And I was like, why don't I reach out to these agencies and be like, hey, look, we're going to put this giveaway together. Do you want to participate and put some credit towards your services to help a first-time founder grow their business? And that's where the idea of the ultimate first-time founder business grant came from. And we got, it was about $65,000 worth of agency credits. So Commerce Garage, that does Facebook ads, Google ads, creative. We had Paul Tiedelman, SEO, is like the best SEO I've ever worked with. Amazing. We had V&Co PR services, so Victoria Kirk, who did all of the PR for truLOCAL. We had Player 2, so Stevan, who does amazing brand strategy, things like that. And we had Detonate Group, who does trade show equipment. And I feel like I'm missing someone, so apologies, but I'll send it to you, you can link it or something. But they all came together and they're like, we love the vision, we love the idea. Yeah, we'll put some services together and put some credit together, and make it so that you can give this amazing prize to a founder that would arguably supercharge their business. So we had about $65,000 in agency credits that we put together. And it wasn't even about, it became, look, like, same thing. If we do it as a giveaway where it's like, buy the book, get a chance to win, it's just bullshit. Like, it's like, no. So we're like, I don't care if you buy the book or not. Just send us a 2-minute pitch. Anybody can apply.
I saw the pitch.
Yeah.
It was pretty sick.
Man. So anyway, so we got all these pitches coming in and people were reaching out and it was great. It worked out really well. And then there was a standout for sure. Like, these Chakra Nutrition guys, they got it figured out. Like, nowadays, once again, content is king. Once again, I wish that was something that I knew well and something that I liked and that I could be good at. But these kids not only had a great business, they're doing bubble tea flavored protein shakes.
He doesn't like bubble tea, right? Come on.
That's what I'm saying. So they had it figured out, and in their pitch, they used content so well. It was so relevant, your typical viral TikTok type content, but they did such a good job of not only explaining the market in a 2-minute video. They explained who they were. They made me laugh. They explained the market, the opportunity, their growth, where they were going. And it was just like, these are the type. These are the type of people.
My favorite part was like the problem. The problem is that you like drinking bubble tea, but it's like 300 calories. There's 40 grams of sugar. How can we fix the problem? You know? So no, that's what caught me for sure.
They killed it. And of course, as soon as I connected with them, your typical like type A, like, I sent an email. They're like in my inbox in 2.2 seconds. Like, you know, I made like, hey, listen, I'm available to talk tomorrow. Let's blah, blah, blah. Like, just like your typical like hustling kids. And like, I love these guys. So huge shout out to them. Hopefully I'll be able to spend some more time with them and watch them grow, but I'm excited to see what they do with that. And it was the best way ever to promote the book, you know?
Yeah,
so it was 100%.
Good. I guess we can end off by saying, like, I read your book. Whoever out there is, if they're looking to start a business, truFounder, it's awesome. I mean, I guess I didn't read it. I keep saying read, but I listened to it, and it's inspirational. There's so much wisdom in there. So thanks again for coming on the podcast, and I really enjoyed picking your brain and like learning from you. So I appreciate that so much.
Yo, I appreciate you guys having me. And yo, look, listen, I will tell you one thing. It's 2 different products, the book and the audiobook. And my favorite is the audiobook. Like, I think the real version, the real way, if you want to experience truFounder, the audiobook is the way to go. Obviously, it's on Audible. If you're more of a physical book guy or girl, it's on Amazon. You can find it on my website. Pretty simple, marclafleur.com or trufounderbook.com. And yeah, just hit me up. I love meeting founders. I could talk business for days, as you know. I think you were talking about this is one of your longer podcasts.
Yeah, no, it is. And like to meet somebody like you at your level, that's humbling for sure. And I love it.
I appreciate that, man. Honestly, you're doing some amazing stuff here. I'm excited to keep following the podcast, and hopefully the listeners get a good kick out of this one.
I think so, man. Cheers.
Cool.
That was a great episode, man. Like, that was like,
yo.
that was great, man.
Appreciate you guys having me, man. That was fun.